You know, every year about 1.7 million people in the United States suffer a traumatic brain injury. I see it every day in my line of work. And in severe cases, there is no drug, there is no pill, there's really no intervention that can truly help once the damage sets in. But I'm about to tell you a story about two dramatic cases of crippling brain damage that may have in fact been reversed by a change in nutrition. Something so simple again that it's hard to believe. Fish oil. Bobby Gassimi's story begins almost 3 years ago with a phone call.
Toughest call that any parents can get.
It's about your son. There's been an accident. Come quick. Bobby's car had careened off a dark and winding road. Paramedics assessed the wreckage. And Bobby.
When I'm looking at the reports, they report a Glasgow coma score of 3. A brick or a piece of wood has a Glasgow coma score of 3. It's dead. And somehow the paramedics miraculously managed to revive this kid.
There had been so much bleeding within the brain. His skull could not contain the swelling. Every part of his brain was affected. But Peter and Marjan Gassimi shrugged off the horror of their situation to fight. Little did they know that that fight would link them to the sole survivor of an infamous mining disaster. A few years before Bobby's car barreled off that road, 13 miners huddled together after an explosion as deadly carbon monoxide crept into the airspace around them. 41 hours later,
the only confirmed survivor is Randall L. McCloy, Jr.
Dr. Julian Bales was Randy McCloy's neurosurgeon. McCloy's body somehow recovered. The question was, could his brain do the same? Bales was concocting an unorthodox plan to try and save Randy McCloy's brain. High doses of omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil.
So the concept was then trying to rebuild his brain with what it was made from when he was an embryo in his mother's womb.
If you have a brick wall and it gets damaged, wouldn't you want to use bricks to repair the wall? And omega-3 fatty acids are literally the bricks of the cell wall in the brain.
During a traumatic brain injury, the brain swells and nerve cells stop communicating and die. Omega-3 fatty acids, the theory goes, can rebuild damaged nerve cells, reduce inflammation, keep those brain cells from dying. The problem? Few human studies had proven this theory. Dr. Michael Lewis, a former Army colonel and omega-3 researcher, believes fish oil could be the missing link. After Bobby's accident, he got a desperate call from Peter Gassimi, and after some explaining, asked him,
what do you think about the idea of using high-dose fish oil like Julian Bales used with Randy McCloy?
The carbon monoxide level was really high, and I had no explanation of how I escaped it.
But McCloy, whose remarkable recovery is well known, was just one case, and it remains unclear whether omega-3 was truly the key. The next hurdle for Gassimi? Convincing Bobby's doctors.
It was a fight. They didn't believe, and they said, fine. The West Virginia miner was one case. I need 1,000 cases to be proven for me before I can give this to your son.
He literally had to lay down in the middle of the floor and throw a tantrum until they started to put it down his child's feeding tube.
The tantrum worked, and 2 weeks after starting his fish oil regimen, Bobby Gassimi, case study number 2, began to emerge from his coma. About 2 months after that, he attended his high school graduation.
They all stood up and were screaming and cheering my name. I took my graduation cap off and waved it around.
The common denominators for Gassimi and McCloy, devastating brain injuries, and then omega-3 fish oil. But did the omega-3 hasten their recovery? For now, we do not know.
I absolutely believe that it made a huge difference in Bobby's recovery. And this is pure speculation. He never would have come out of a coma if it hadn't been for the use of omega-3s to allow that natural healing process to occur.